Pleasant greetings to you. Shema Israel is a Jewish prayer known as the Shema that serves as a centerpiece of the morning and evening Jewish prayer services. Its first verse encapsulates the monotheistic essence of Judaism. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one, as found in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verse 4. Observant Jews consider the Shema to be the most important part of the prayer service in Judaism, and its twice daily recitation as a mitzvah, that is, a religious commandment. Also, it is traditional for Jews to say the Shema as their last words, and for parents to teach their children to say it before they go to sleep at night. Tefillin or phylacteries is a set of small black leather boxes containing scrolls of parchment inscribed with verses from the Torah. Tefillin are worn by observant adult Jews during weekday morning prayers. Although tefillin is technically the plural form, it is often used as a singular as well. The arm tefillah or shel yad is placed on the upper arm, and the strap wrapped around the arm, hand, and fingers, while the head tefillah or shel rosh is placed above the forehead. They are intended to fulfill the Torah's instructions to keep as a sign and remembrance of the Exodus, signifying that God brought the children of Israel out of ancient Egypt. Inside the tefillin is the tefillin scroll with the first paragraph of the Shema verse. If you are curious how the first part of these verses are said, here is an instructional video from a rabbi.
Hi, I'm Rabbi Mikey Stein. This is Shema and the first paragraph of Ve'ahavta. Shema is the quintessential Jewish declaration of faith in God. It's traditionally said with the hands covering the eyes. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
I mentioned these verses, which are very important for the Jews, because remember, Jesus was himself a Jew. And lest we overlook the fact, when he was asked which was the first of all the commandments, the first imperative word Jesus mentioned was not love of God. The first is Shema, hear or listen. That's interesting. This drives home a very important lesson for all of us Christians. The lesson is this: the first condition that needs to be fulfilled before all genuine loving becomes possible is to have a listening heart. No genuine love is possible without listening from the heart. So, briefly, let us talk about empathic or active listening.
This is the Chinese symbol for to listen. The left side of the symbol represents an ear. The right side represents the eyes, an undivided attention, and underneath this, there is the heart. And underneath the ear symbol is the symbol for king, referring to regal respect. The Chinese believe that you need to use your eyes, ears and heart, and give undivided attention to really listen to what is being said to you. Indeed, the way you listen with respect, fit for a king. Empathic or active listening is a skill taught to teachers and police officers, counselors, ministers, rabbis and priests. Dan Wilkins, a person with disability and an active disabilities advocate, explains the Chinese character or kanji, termed as ting. He says, "What does it mean to listen? In our fast-paced drive-through cost-cutting, downsizing Game Boy world, the Chinese kanji, ting, representing the verb to listen, is significant, in that it explains the difference between simply hearing, and truly listening. By integrating representations of not only our ears, but of our eyes, our heart, and the selfless act of undivided attention, the Chinese have truly captured the essence of listening.
There are 4 rules of active listening. The first rule is to seek to understand before seeking to be understood. When we seek to understand rather than be understood, our modus operandi will be to listen. Often, when we enter into conversation, our goal is to be better understood. We can be better understood if first we better understand. We have to listen to the other from the frame of reference of the other, not our own. But we need to be emotionally strong to do this. The second rule is to be non-judgmental. Emphatic listening demonstrates a high degree of emotional intelligence. There is a reason kids do not usually speak with adults about drugs, sex, and rock and roll. The kids already know what the adults have to say. Once a child knows your judgment, there is little reason to ask the question, unless the intention is, of course, to argue. If we would speak to anyone about issues important to them, we need to avoid sharing our judgment until we have learned their judgment. This empathic behavior is an indicator of emotional intelligence. The third rule is to give your undivided attention to the speaker. Remember how Jesus gave undivided attention to Zacchaeus in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 19, verses 1 to 10? Jesus listened to him, causing him to stop in front of Zacchaeus. Then Jesus looked up at him and invited himself into Zacchaeus' home. Remember too that the minimum of love is justice. Justice is giving rightly what is one's due. We determine what all persons are basically due by their simply being persons, by simply looking into the nature of the term person, per, and the word sonare, Latin words meaning to sound through, that is, to communicate. Giving undivided attention to a person is therefore allowing the person to realize his or her personhood. That is somehow the sense of what we say. The first responsibility of love is to listen. And the fourth rule is to use silence effectively. The final rule for active or empathic listening is to effectively use silence. Too often, a truly revealing moment is never brought to fruition because of an untimely interruption. Some of the finest police interrogators, counselors, teachers, confessors, and parents learn more by maintaining silence than by asking questions. As an active or emphatic listener, silence is a very valuable tool. Do not interrupt unless absolutely necessary. Silence is indeed golden, especially when used to gather information as a listener. Of course, this rule of empathic listening is foundational in our life of prayer. Do not forget to pray, meditate, and keep sacred silence. As Saint Teresa once said, God speaks in the silence of the heart. Listening is the beginning of prayer. My friend, how is your heart doing now? Do you listen from your loving heart? May God bless you with a listening heart. Amen.